So you guys have a nonprofit. I'm just making sure I read it correctly. The Richard Martinez Cancer Fund. Correct. Okay. There's a story behind this, what it is. So I would like whoever would like to run this story. Tell me what it is, what's it about, and why you do it.
So Richard Martinez was a Fort Worth police officer. He was then hired by a federal agency, right? One of the 3-letter agencies, the one I work for. I met Richard originally in 1999. When I arrived at the drug task force I work on, he taught me how to work narcotics. We became very good friends. He eventually was hired by the 3-letter agency, right? And in 2009, Richard would tell you he woke up with cancer. Woke up, had blood in his urine, went to the hospital, found out he had kidney cancer. One of his kidneys was encapsulated with the tumor, and within maybe 3 days had his kidney taken out. Unfortunately, well, let me say this. At the time, the doctors told him, hey, if you have to have cancer, like this is the cancer you want. Like the survival rate, the 5-year survival rate is like 95%. Okay. So if you have to have cancer, hey, you got the good one, right? Unfortunately, the doctor who did his surgery to remove his kidney botched the surgery, and within several months, the cancer had spread throughout his body. So the type of cancer he had, I'm looking at Melanie. The type of cancer he had was
renal clear cell carcinoma.
Renal clear cell carcinoma. Okay, I didn't want to say it wrong. That type of cancer does not respond to normal radiation chemotherapy treatments. So Richard was referred to UT Southwestern in Dallas and started on a regiment of experimental drugs. And so the way the foundation started, we actually found out, I was thinking about this on the way here, we actually found out that Richard had sold his tractor to pay for some of his medical expenses, and that his wife, Richard had had a surgery, and his wife was push mowing 2 acres.
Oh.
And we found out about it, just some of the guys he worked with. And within like 3 hours, we raised like $1,200 to buy a riding mower, right? That's kind of how it started. So we get the money, we buy a riding mower, we take it so she's not having to push mow the yard, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I'll interject just because of what happened during his initial surgery when they took out the kidney. There's ways to do that where they bag it internally and then pull it out in the bag so that the cancer cells don't get free in the body. And so that's not how it was done. And so as a result, like Brian said, the cancer cells spread and got into his bloodstream and into his organs. But he went from having a 95% 5-year survival rating to a 5%. So it flipped on him, and then now suddenly in 90 days after that surgery, he's being told you have a 5% survival rate. And so because it doesn't respond to traditional chemo and radiation, he was then put through a series of experimental, trials and drugs and things. And that's what was costing so much money, which led to what you're talking about.
So, several months later, within a year of the initial diagnosis, we're having a conversation, Richard and I and another police officer that's a friend, and he tells us that the experimental drugs are so expensive that he's not able to pay his mortgage. And so he's made the decision to stop the medicine, stop the treatments, because he has to pay his mortgage. He says, I can't leave my family without a house. He had decided, he understood that the cancer was probably going to take his life at some point, and he He said, I can't leave my family homeless. And we just decided we just could not let that happen. So we got together with some lawyers that worked with my mom, and an accountant that worked with it was the spouse of another police officer on the task force. And we formed the nonprofit organization, the Richard Martinez Cancer Fund. At the time, we were singularly focused to raise money to help Richard. And, you know, that was our focus. That was our desire. And that's what we did. Of course, as the years have gone on, we have been told by the attorneys that the IRS will not let you have a nonprofit organization that benefits one sole person. So the way that it is written, the Richard Martinez Cancer Fund pays the cancer-related medical expenses for law enforcement officers who are battling cancer.